So I guess I don't know if you want to start. You want me to start?
I
Basically, our
guess since,
positions are that
or you go.
you so you believe that systemic racism is alive today for marginalized minority groups. I believe that it is systemic racism is alive today for basically like white, even some Asian stuff like that, but not for the minority groups. I believe that most of the systemic racism that we claim systemic racism for, like black and so on, is just remnants of systemic racism of the past.
Well, let me
That's
ask
my
you.
position on it.
Let me ask you this then. When do you believe systemic racism ended in America? Because I'm sure you'd concede that
When
it
when
existed at some point.
when the laws, yeah, when the laws actually closed the gaps, then the systemic racism stopped, but then the remnants started. So everybody's culture is still the same, everybody's thinking the same way, everything has to adjust yet, but the laws themselves stop. So the ability of equality is there.
And is there a specific law that you're referring? Like, is there a year? Because I mean, if you're saying it was just 1 year that this explicit law ended, that man.
It's slowly ended through a time, but if there's any, well, obviously there's laws right now that are go against white people compared to other laws. So I mean, there's still systemic racism as far as laws go.
What laws are you
Affirmative
referencing
action.
with that?
Well, affirmative action. You have the new program from Biden that will not help white people. It'll help minority farmers, but it won't give any money to white farmers.
I don't necessarily view,
You have
view that as racism. But I'm just curious. So
so
when do you feel
you don't
then
think
that
that it's
systemic?
racism that you can't get money to get help because of the color of your skin?
I think that it's frankly it's designed to remedy the situation that you were describing before. That I'm trying to pinpoint
So
when you feel that it ended.
you feel equity is the answer to systemic racism, to fix systemic racism?
I
Your
don't,
claim of systemic racism?
I don't necessarily use the term equity, but I think that I prefer more
Well,
universal
you're saying
solutions.
that certain groups should be allowed to have things because of the color of their skin, and certain groups shouldn't because of people that aren't them, but other people that look like them.
Well,
That's
let's
equity,
let's
right?
really let's really pinpoint this though. When do you feel like
Okay.
systemic racism no longer became an issue in this country?
Whenever the laws of equality came into place,
Okay, and when do you feel like that was?
could be after Jim Crow, could be after. Well, I mean, we have some now, so I can't really say it's in effect because we still have systemic racism, but it's not towards black people.
All right, so it was my understanding that your kind of position in this debate was that systemic racism doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist for black minorities, Hispanic minorities, such
Let's start by
it
defining.
exists. It
Let's
exists towards
define what
white
we're
people, and
let's define what we're talking about. So I define
yeah,
systemic
yeah.
racism as a system
But
that perpetuates racist outcomes. Now it's a bit of a malleable term. There's not necessarily like I don't believe there's a dictionary definition that everyone goes off of. So that's my understanding of what people mean when they say systemic racism. What exactly do you think it means?
a systemic racism to me is a system put in place that is racist.
Okay, but do you feel like it goes any deeper than that? Like what, for example, if something was designed with explicitly racist intent, do you feel like that falls
Yeah,
under
like
systemic
like
racism?
giving money to farmers because they're not white, not giving money to farmers because they're white, but giving money to farmers that are not white, strictly because of the color of their skin. That's racist. That is
Okay,
a
so
racist system in place.
frankly, I don't know much about Biden's subsidies for farmers. I know that there might be some attempts to alleviate some
Yeah,
of the.
1.9 trillion dollars, I believe it was.
That is nowhere. If you're trying to claim that 1.9 trillion is going to some racial farming thing, that's
So
not even
that was
it's not
put
even
to the
remotely true.
bill.
So we can just let's dive into this though. So you're saying systemic racism is a law designed with racist intent,
A system put in place, a
a
system
system.
specifically designed to affect a certain race or an outcome
So if that is the intent, so if we see that it's
by law, a system put in place, a law put in place, a system in place that stops certain groups of people from having the same kind of freedom or rights as other groups of
well,
people.
that seems to be a different definition than what you said originally. Because now, for example, let's talk about the war on drugs. The war on drugs was designed with explicit race intent, or not explicit, but we found out since from Nixon advisors that there were very clear racist intentions with the war on drugs that it still exists today.
The intentions are racist, but if the people had the power, right? The system didn't have the power. The people had the power. People didn't have to sell drugs, and didn't have to do drugs, they didn't have to do anything like that. They chose to.
We just
That
clarified though that if
was
a
the
law had racist intent, that makes it systemic racism. The war on drugs was designed with racist intent.
anything you could technically say anything as racist intent.
No, no, you couldn't.
You could if you built certain bridges in certain areas, you could have a racist intent behind it, trying to stop people from
No,
getting
no.
sick.
I guess someone could, but they don't.
Yeah,
Like they didn't. They didn't when they were building these bridges. They did with the war on drugs.
but the people had the power to not take a hold of that, right?
Okay,
I thought way of escape.
that
What if
wasn't
your
our
fish doesn't
definition.
even have to eat
That's
it?
why I had us nail down a definition originally of what the definition of
Yeah.
systemic racism. And you said a
What
law with
laws
racist
force
intent.
those people to sell drugs?
No, there's not
What
a law
system was put in
forcing.
place that forced them to sell drugs?
We didn't say that it has to be a system that forces someone to sell drugs. We said that it was a law put in place that has racist intent.
No, that's what you said.
That's not
That's
your
what you believe
definition.
it is.
That I thought that that's what we decided on originally. What is your definition then?
No, a system or a law put in place that creates different outcomes of races.
Different outcomes
The
of races.
different
Okay,
outcome for
okay, different
certain
outcomes with races. So how does our carceral system not show
the
very
law
clearly
has
different
to
outcomes?
create the law has to create the different outcomes, not the
Yes,
people.
our
The
laws are
laws.
creating the different outcomes. Yes.
The people choose to abide by them or not. No, the laws themselves have to create the outcome, not the people.
Yes.
If I'm trying if there's a bunch of drugs being put into a group of people, it's their choice to sell it or not. There's no laws forcing them to sell those drugs.
No one has ever claimed that that someone is forcing anyone to sell drugs. The claim that no, I'm operating on. So maybe I don't want this to turn into a semantic definition. Then are you conceding then that the war on drugs did have explicit racist intent, and that it has incredibly racial outcomes
It
that we can
very
see?
well could have.
No, no,
You
no,
have to
not
explain
could have.
how
I
that
mean,
affects
we
the.
know this. Nixon advisors have come out and said that this was the intent.
Well, tell me how that's relevant today then.
What do you mean? These laws are still in place today, and we can still see that these overwhelmingly,
So how
disproportionately.
long have they been in place?
How
How
long
long
have they
have they
been
been
in
in
place? I
place?
believe the war on drugs began in roughly in the 70s.
So it's been 50 years and they're still doing it. There's the people are still making the
Wait,
same
wait,
mistake,
wait,
doing the
wait, wait.
same
You
mistake
don't
every
think
year.
that the war on drugs still exists? I thought that this is. I didn't even think that that
No,
was
no,
something
no.
that's
I'm
in the
saying if
contention.
it does, you're saying there's been 50 years of people still making bad decisions to do it. They don't have to. They
What are you
choose.
classifying as bad decisions? Because it's my understanding that we both think
Selling
that
drugs,
these drugs should be.
doing drugs.
Wait, wait. It's my understanding that we both believe that these drugs should be legal. You support
They
the war on
should, yeah.
drugs? Then
They should be
why are you
legal, yeah.
claiming it to be a bad decision?
Because you're breaking the law.
Do you think that something
Breaking the
is
law is not a good thing, right?
no. Wait. If we can agree though that a
If you know
law is
something's illegal,
if a
you
law is
typically don't do
unjust,
it,
if someone makes walking down the street illegal tomorrow, are you going to say that that's wrong? It's wrong to walk down
It
the
doesn't
street.
matter if it's unjust or not. If it's illegal and you do it, you're breaking the law.
Wait,
You're
wait,
getting
wait.
the punishment.
This is insane. Wait. This is insane.
No,
So
how is
someone
that
that
insane?
no. So someone who hid Jewish people during 1940s Germany,
Hmm.
or was that wrong? Was that wrong of them to do that? They
Absolutely.
were breaking the law.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
That's unbelievable. Really, you would say that someone
No,
that was
no.
trying to.
If selling, you're talking about two completely different moralities.
No, we're talking about
If
we're talking
you
about whether
are
or not
not
breaking the law.
supposed to sell drugs, if you're not supposed to sell drugs, you know the
It's not
consequences
just
of
selling
selling
drugs; it's consumption
If
as
you
well.
choose to sell them, you are taking that risk of getting in trouble and going to jail.
Well,
That
you
know the
understand.
consequences of that.
You understand that it's not just selling drugs; it's consumption as well.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, then why are you? It seems like you're trying to push the cart down the road. It's also consumption of these drugs, possession of these drugs, and so if you're saying that
No,
this thing
just
isn't.
because I believe they should be legal, I think abortion should be illegal, but people are allowed to do it. It doesn't matter what I believe should be legal. It matters what is legal at the time and people abide by it or they do not. They know the consequences and they do it anyways.
No, but we're saying that we're talking about systemic racism. We're talking about a system
Yes.
that's put in place that has perpetuated racist outcomes. We
What
can see this.
system is forcing them to consumer sell?
Okay, this is all right. Let me ask you this. Back in the day when they used to have literacy tests, now everyone knew this at the time. These literacy tests were designed with racist outcomes. This was the goal because they knew that Black Americans were not as literate as white Americans, and so they had these literacy tests to exclude Black Americans. Were those not racist?
Yeah.
Those were not racist during Jim Crow.
Stopping people from learning
No, no,
because
no,
of the
no.
color of their skin?
We're talking about the literacy tests that were put in place to like prevent people from voting and all sorts of different things. That these were not. They didn't say, oh, it hadn't be Black people. It was about a literacy test because they knew that Black people were disproportionately illiterate. Now, everyone at the time understood what these laws meant.
That absolutely could have been racist intent. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying that is systemic racism then? Yes.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with today?
Okay, so we're talking about also with the war on drugs. We know that certain drugs are criminalized, are punished more severely because these are drugs that are more prevalent in Black communities, and we know that we know that their intention was to,
Doesn't matter what their intention was. Who's forcing them
how
to do
does
it?
the intention not matter?
Because you're breaking the law, Mark.
No. Okay, you
You're
keep
breaking
talking
the
about
law. Carl, I'm sorry.
Do you not think it's an issue if there's an unjust law? Would you just say that that's why I brought up 1940s Germany? Obviously,
The
a very
justification doesn't matter.
obviously
If
a very
it's illegal and
extreme
you're doing
obviously
it,
a very
you're gonna take the
extreme
consequences.
obviously 1940s Germany is a very extreme example, But I'm sure
Why
you
are
would
you bringing up
concede
1940s Germany?
because people that
Killing
broke
people and selling drugs are two completely different
no,
things,
no,
man.
because your standard is whether or not someone breaks the law, and we would agree then that people who broke the law then were heroic. They
Yeah,
were acting
just because
heroically
you and
then.
I think it should be legalized doesn't make any difference for what they were doing when it was legal or illegal.
So you
That's
you
what I'm
think
not.
so you think that people who hid Jewish families during that time that they were doing the wrong thing then? That you don't think that those
No,
were heroes that put their lives on the line
no.
to try and protect
But they
people?
know the consequences, and people pay. My family's from Germany. They lived on the streets. They had to go and eat garbage to get out of Germany. They knew the consequences of their actions. Okay,
I
they
don't.
knew if they helped people, their family would be murdered in front of other family members. You know the consequences of going against the law.
No, no,
You
no.
choose. You
Yes,
choose
yes.
to do
We
it, or
we
you
can know
don't.
that there are unjust consequences. Yes, and we then can say that those
Yes.
consequences are bad.
So what?
What do you mean? So what? This
That's
this
not
is
the
this is a,
topic.
this is a policy debate. This is talking about whether or not these things are systemic racism, whether or
You're
not these
talking
things.
about saving human lives and doing and selling drugs. One is good, one is bad.
But
You're
you,
trying to compare a good to something that's bad.
I don't
I'm
think
not
that.
understanding the
But you have already conceded though that whether or not someone partakes in, say, marijuana, for example, that is not a bad thing. That people should be allowed to do that, right?
no,
So then why are you saying one is
no.
good, one is bad?
Selling drugs, like drugs that can kill
Just,
people.
just like
I think
someone,
they should have the right to do it.
marijuana doesn't.
But yes,
No one has ever died from marijuana consumption.
I'm not talking about marijuana. They're,
That's
they're selling more than
you're
marijuana.
aware that marijuana is included in the war on drugs, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
one
yeah,
of them.
exactly.
Yes.
So when we're talking
Are
about
the
this,
other drugs? Are the other drugs not bad?
is alcohol bad?
Yeah.
Alcohol, yeah, alcohol is legal. Isn't that interesting? That alcohol is perfectly legal. Now there was a period where it wasn't legal, and then it greatly increased crime.
I
But now that it
understand,
is
and I
legal, and that
don't.
these other drugs also do bad things, yet one of them is legal, the other isn't. I wonder if it had something
I'm
to do
with
with the
you.
intentions.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think they should be legal. We're on the same page with that. That's
Wait,
not the
wait, wait.
topic.
Then don't do this appeal to saying, well, they're doing this horrible thing, this thing that I think should be legal, but they're doing this horrible thing, and that's why
Do
they
you think a
deserve to
kid
be
should be doing
incarcerated.
crack or cocaine or any of those drugs?
Did you just ask if I think
Do
that
you think
kids
that
should?
somebody
Did
is
you
it
ask
okay
if
if
I think
somebody sells
kids
you
should do
kids crack
crack?
or cocaine?
What'd you say?
Is it okay if somebody sells your kid crack or cocaine or anything?
I
Are
think
you okay
that
with
there
that?
should be. I think
Is
that there
that
should be
good?
laws in place for selling drugs to children. I think just like we do for alcohol. But you understand that that's
Minors sell
the
drugs.
vast majority of these situations. That's not what we're talking about here. If you want to isolate this like
No.
specific situation, okay. But we're talking like 99% of the cases. That's not even remotely what we're talking about.
So you're going to compare saving lives with selling and doing drugs.
I'm not comparing it. I'm comparing you. So your
You are
standard,
comparing
no,
it.
no, no. Your standard was
No,
whether or not
you're
the
trying.
your
But
standard. No, no, no. Wait, wait, wait. I'm being very clear here. Your standard was if it's breaking the law, then it's wrong. So I brought up a very extreme example. I'm very openly saying it was an
no,
extreme
if
example,
if it's breaking the law and there's consequences, you know the consequences before you take it. That's my position.
and
It
that
doesn't
that
matter if you believe it is right or wrong. It
throughout
doesn't matter if
throughout
you believe
history
it's right or wrong.
this would be your position. If someone is breaking the law, it doesn't matter what the founding fathers they were wrong.
No,
Every,
you know the consequences, and you pay the consequences if you get caught.
no,
That
no.
is my position.
No one is saying that consequences don't exist for breaking the law. We're talking about whether or not these actions are
We're
justified.
talking about the consequence. We're talking about people getting caught.
Yes, we are talking about
We're on
people getting
drugs.
caught.
People are getting caught selling and doing drugs when they're not supposed to be.
Yes, but
Whether they think it's good or bad, it doesn't matter.
we're
My
agreeing. We're agreeing that these are
nobody's
oppressive. We're
forcing them to
agreeing.
do it.
We're
And you
agreeing
still
that these are
haven't proven
oppressive.
anybody's forcing them to do it.
We're
You're trying
agreeing
to
that
argue
these.
that it's okay.
I've never. It's ridiculous to ask me to prove that someone's forcing them to, when that has never been my claim.
Well, that would be systemic, wouldn't
It wouldn't be. I've very clearly laid out what definition I'm trying to prove here, and that is none of it ever had to do with forcing anyone to do drugs.
it? So if I eat certain foods that people put certain chemicals in, is systemic fatness, systemic obesity?
No, what
It's the same
that's
concept.
how is that the same concept?
If we got a bunch of fast food restaurants around here, they're kind of waving it in front of my face. It's my choice if I want to eat there or not. But if I keep eating at these fast food restaurants, is that systemic obesity?
Systemic obesity. I mean, we do have an overwhelming obesity problem in this country. Yes.
I know. Is it systemic? Is it systemic? Is anybody forcing me to eat
If
these fast
all
food
the
restaurants,
restaurants,
or is it my
if
choice?
all the restaurants in your neighborhood are fast food restaurants that are going to lead to obesity, I think it's fair to say that there's systems in
I
place
think
that are
that would
going
be
to lead
systemic.
lead to obesity.
To lead to it, but not force.
No one's saying force. Once again, we're not talking about force. No one's
That'd be
forcing
systemic.
someone.
Well,
All
then
right,
what's the point of this
let me ask
argument?
you. Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this. Do you believe that social media is biased against conservatives?
Depends on the media.
Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
They can be.
Do you believe they are?
Some are.
Okay, the ones I listed. Do you believe that they
I
are?
think some are biased.
No,
Every
don't say
news
some.
source
All
is
right,
biased. Period.
TikTok.
Every
Do you believe
person is biased.
do you believe TikTok as a social media platform is biased against
Not
conservatives?
necessarily. I've seen people on both aisles get banned,
No.
so
But
it's kind of hard for me.
which one do you think is more common? Or on Twitter? Let's talk about Twitter then. Which one do you think is more common on Twitter?
I've never been on Twitter. I
You've
don't know much
never
about
been on
Twitter.
Twitter. But are you
Mhm.
familiar with the platform though, right?
Yeah, I know the platform.
Okay. And do you think it's biased towards conservatives?
Could be.
Could be, but do you think it is?
Could be.
What about TikTok?
I don't know.
You don't think that
Could
TikTok
be.
is genuinely?
It could be. I mean, I know it. I know it doesn't like politics in general on their platform, so they will block a lot of the politics
Sure,
that they
sure.
can.
Well, let's say politics. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. You think that TikTok
Yeah.
is biased against political content?
Yes,
How do you know this?
because they ban political content.
Do they have any laws? Do they have any rules or specific regulations that say you can't post
They
political
they
content?
do they do within those certain aspects. You can't say certain things, even if you don't think you're breaking them. They're trying to catch you in certain things.
Give me an example.
You
Give me an
get me for
example.
hate speech. 90% of the time I'm talking, they get me for hate speech because I'm trying to speak about certain races or certain sexualities and stuff like that. And
But
I'm
you're
not
just
actually speaking hateful at all. But
you're just assuming though that there's nothing in their terms of service to say you can't speak conservatively or politically, right?
no, they should absolutely have to tell me what I'm breaking. Yeah, but no, they can do what they want.
No. But I'm saying though, you do think it is biased against political content, right?
I believe it could be. Yeah,
And the
I don't have that
no.
strong of an
Stop
opinion
trying
on
to
it.
run away from it. You do think that it is.
I don't have that strong of an opinion. I think they very well could be.
You've
I,
never
I
made
know
you've
that
never
some of
made
the
a
political
video
content.
saying that TikTok has disproportionately banned conservatives or political content. You've never made a TikTok
Nope,
saying this.
nope. I've
And
made one saying that they banned me and that I have a new account.
frankly, I think that you're being a little insincere. I'm sure that in any other circumstance you would say it is. And I would say that the reason that you know that it's biased is because of the wildly disproportionate outcomes. Because we know that cooking videos are not banned even remotely as frequently as political videos. And that these disproportionate outcomes can lead us to believe that there is some systemic discrimination.
Outcomes. No, it doesn't matter.
How does that not matter? Outcome seems to be the most.
You can give me any statistical outcome of a black person when it comes to crime or anything like that. It doesn't mean it's systemic racism. It could mean that they commit more crime. There's a lot of other variables.
Let me ask you
When
this
they're
then.
judged,
Let
it
me
could be
let me
different.
ask.
It could be a different location, different judges, different lawyers, different juries,
Isn't
different
it
mood of the person.
isn't it interesting
There's
though
there's
that
so many
across
variables that matter in these situations. You can't just blame it on racism.
isn't it interesting though that across the board we see that
Hmm.
Black Americans are disproportionately negatively affected by this system.
And they're also disproportionately committing crimes per
Why
capita
do you
per
think that
person.
why do you think that's the case?
Culture.
What culture are you referring to?
The culture of, well, most of the ones that commit the crimes are low income culture.
Low income. You're aware that there are
Every race of low income culture
there are white
commits
Americans that
more
are also low
crimes.
income though, right? We can both
Yeah,
agree on
and
that.
they commit a lot of crime.
Yes, I do believe that poverty is
Absolutely.
incredibly, but that doesn't really sound like culture. That sounds like economic status.
Yeah, it's poor culture, if you want to call it, even though I don't really consider them poor. It's just low class culture.
So what? But what
It's that
specifically?
drive. It's that drive for trying to look better than you are, and you're willing to do certain things to look like you're better off than what you really are.
And why do you
I
think
was
that?
in that culture when I was
Why
poor.
why do you believe that
I
Black
bought
Americans
expensive
are
cars.
disproportionately likely to do this?
What's that?
Why do you believe that Black Americans are disproportionately likely? Because this is your claim that that's the reason they go to jail disproportionately is that they're disproportionately to have this innate urge to want to like look
Because
better.
because they are the most recent. They're the most recent demographic to come out of being forced into racist laws and so on. So they're fresh. They're new coming out of this. They're still adapting. Okay. When my ex-wife, when the Hmong people, because my ex-wife is Hmong, when they came over here in I think it was the 70s or the 80s, they were very adapted to the culture. They didn't want to go out and reach out to other cultures. They didn't want anybody else to practice their culture. They're very prideful and very stuck in their culture. It takes time to loosen up and to grow into your surroundings. And I think that that's what they had. They were forced into their own group, and they're still very much that way. And they need time to grow into other cultures and to accept them and to allow people. That's when they actually assimilate into that. That's when things will be more statistically well off.
Do you think that it's some sort of coincidence that almost right around a few years after we had the Civil Rights Act, we had the Voting Rights Act, that all of a sudden mass incarceration skyrocketed? Do you think that there's any correlation between that? Do you think that there might be something going on there? That the war on drugs also began right after the Voting Rights Act, right after the Civil Rights Act. That maybe there were some intentions involved with these things that we were criminalizing, that these policies that we were
Why do
pushing.
you think there'd be intentions? What intentions do you think were had to make that happen?
Well, like
Why do you think anybody's why do you think anybody would disproportionately attack a certain demographic?
Be-
What's the gain?
Like, wait. You're asking why are they doing these things? Like, why are they
Yeah,
racist?
if you're saying that's what happened, I'm saying what's the reasoning? What's the outcome? Why would anybody want to attack a certain demographic of people? What would be the positive? What would be the plus for them?
I mean, I guess the reason, well, for example, for mass incarceration, I mean, it's literal slave labor that we utilize in our prison system.
Kind of. I mean, it's not really slave labor for the most part.
It
Some
no, no, no,
states
it's definitionally slave labor. It's allowed in the 13th Amendment. This is well documented. We use forced labor in our prison system.
Some do, like Texas did for a while. I mean, some don't do any.
Many states across the country utilize forced labor. This is
Mhm. True, but who's forcing them to go into these prisons?
so if we imprison someone for something that we both agree should be legal, and then we force them to do labor, and then this also
But they broke the
happens.
law.
It
But they,
happens
but
to
they
be.
broke the law, right?
But once again, though, if we agree though, that's you should be able to walk on the street
No,
outside.
that doesn't matter. If you break the law, you break the law.
Don't you think it's a bit of a coincidence
Do you
that
think
the
do
wait
you
wait no
think
no let
abortion
me
should
ask
be
you this
legal?
let me ask you this the race that was enslaved, literally enslaved in this country, do you think it's a coincidence that now the system that we have in place that still allows for slavery is disproportionately made up of that race?
No, because we're fresh out of it. We're
So
only
it's
what
it's the
16 years.
continuation of the system, yes.
That's what I've been saying.
So
It's not
it's
the
the
continuation
continu-
of the system. It's the outcome.
I just said it's the
It's what's
continuation
left
of the
over
system.
from a racist system. They could change it. The system can't change it. They can change it.
The system
They can
could.
stop it. They have the power themselves individually to stop it, to stop going to prison. They have the power, not the government. The government can't just, you're done. I
No,
changed
actually,
laws, no longer will go into prison. I mean, you could change.
wait, wait,
you could change
are you
certain
joking?
drug laws.
Wait, that's got to be a joke. Obviously, what you just described, this stab of a finger, is exactly what could do. Joe Biden could wave his hand tomorrow and pardon all non-violent drug offenders. What you're saying is simply not true. Joe Biden could absolutely
No,
do
no,
this.
no, no.
We're
Yeah,
just talking
yeah. You
one
can
person.
change, you can
One
change
person
laws for these
tomorrow
people,
could pardon
but
all
they'll
things that
still
we
do the
both
same
agree
thing.
is unjust. So you're plainly wrong when you say that they could that the system
All right,
couldn't
let me ask
change
you a
it.
question. Let me ask you a question. All right. Black people, unfortunately, disproportionately commit a lot of the violent crimes, drugs, gun,
You really haven't given me a reason why.
murder.
You said
If
culture.
if
That's not a
if
reason.
system, if the government just went boom, I'm changing these laws, do you think that would stop them, or they still disproportionately commit these crimes?
Frankly, I don't care if they disproportionately.
So the culture stays the
Well, no,
same.
no, 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 no. Wait, wait,
Doesn't
wait.
matter.
If it's something that we
So
agree
then
is not a bad thing,
right.
I don't care. If there's a culture that disproportionately consumes Diet Pepsi, I don't care. If someone disproportionately consumes marijuana, I don't think that should be
That's
a
not
crime.
crime.
I don't think you should go to jail for that.
No violent crimes, guns, carrying guns illegally,
You're not a pro Second Amendment person.
robbery.
Wait. Are you not
What's that?
a Second Amendment guy?
Oh, I am.
Then what on earth are you talking about? Someone exercising their
You
Second
want,
Amendment
you want
right?
your kids to have guns?
Do I want my kids to
You
have
okay with your
guns?
kids having guns?
Like
Yeah,
I don't have any kids.
that's true. I don't want my minors having guns without my adult permission.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't want them getting sold guns from other people.
No, but the fact of the matter is that we can see that, throughout this country, we've seen that gun laws have been targeted against Black Americans. We saw the Mulford Act. This was explicitly designed to disarm the Black Panthers. And so what we're saying is something that you agree.
Actually, when it comes to gun crimes, white people and black people are identical in percentage.
Okay, but I brought up a
It's not
specific.
confused.
I brought up a specific
41.8%
example there.
versus 41.4%. So actually, white people, tiny percentage-wise, actually commit more. But
But you're familiar with the concept of disproportionate, right? Black Americans make up lower percentage of the population.
13% white people something. Yeah, so they are disproportionately committing more crimes.
So, but so that's it's insane to try and use that as some sort of justification. These laws
True,
are
you're right.
targeted.
They don't have to. They do though.
But this is something that you're saying. But you're saying though, oh, they're going to keep this bad culture. This culture though that we're saying shouldn't be a crime.
No, committing crimes at a higher proportionate rate. Yeah, that's a bad culture.
But we've acknowledged though, that these things shouldn't be crime.
Violent crimes, robbery, murder, are those bad?
Murder? Do I think murder is bad? Yes, of course.
Violent crimes, beating
Violent crime.
somebody up,
I think that our system is incredibly punitive.
robbery.
No. I think that our system is incredibly punitive,
Socialism, you
and I
don't care
think
about
that.
robbery.
What'd you say?
I said you like socialist programs. You don't care about robbery.
Robert, yeah, that's a very funny joke. But no, I think that our prison system, even with violent offenders, it doesn't do them any sort of justice. I think that we can see in other countries there are for example in Norway they don't even have life sentence. Our system
But is it bad?
is violent
Is it
crime.
bad?
Is violent crime bad?
Is it
Yes, of
bad
course.
to have a violent crime culture?
I think that it's beyond absurd to say that Black Americans have a violent crime culture.
Well, they commit disproportionately more violent crimes.
But we both just said that it's because they're disproportionately born into poverty.
So is that bad? Is the culture bad?
Is it bad?
Would
No,
you
no, no,
like to
no, no.
change
It's not the. It's not the
that?
culture.
Would you like to change that?
Wait,
would
no, no, no.
Would it be good to change that so they're not so bad?
No, no, no. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not saying that it's a bad culture. I'm saying that disproportionately being born into poverty is going to lead you to disproportionately commit violent acts.
So who's keeping anybody into poverty today? What system is keeping people into poverty today?
Well, I mean, frankly, if we want to, go very deep, I think that, for example, our school system, the way it's set up with like property taxes, I think that when you have these low income areas, if they're paid for by property taxes, the property in that area is just move. This just so there'd just be everyone. You're kidding though, right? You don't think that a 5-year-old? No, wait,
No,
wait, no, wait. Because it's ridiculous what you just said. That a 5-year-old black child that they should just move.
Well, obviously their parents.
No. But we're talking about the kid. We're talking about the kid because the parents probably grew up in what
parents have
no,
control
no,
what
no, no,
school
no,
they go
no,
to.
no, no. Because the
Kid
parents
doesn't.
grew up. You realize that like one of the first woman I think that went to a desegregated school in Louisiana, she's like 60. We're not talking about a huge separation of people. These parents that you're talking about were like literally under what you would classify as systemic racism. So to say that their parents actually went under like what you've already conceded is a deeply racist system.
No, racist intent. Yeah, if that's what kind of grew and they go to the crappy schools, they can move. It's happened multiple times.
No. But a kid has no control over the school they go to.
The parent does.
No, but the kid that is put in that situation, a kid is
The kid doesn't have any choice at all what school he goes to. The parent
Exactly.
does. The parents one that makes the best decisions for their kids.
The kid has no
The parents
control.
are what leave the well for their kids. If their parents make bad decisions, the kids are left into poverty.
But we just
Parents
conceded
make
though.
bad decisions, the kids are left into better situations.
No. But the kids, if when kids are disproportionately being born into these bad situations, then it's ridiculous to blame the kids for then what comes from that.
Adults are the ones making these mistakes.
But these
for the
adults,
most
because
part. I mean, a lot of kids
you don't have to go back many generations to see that this started with systems that you're agreeing that you've already conceded were deeply immoral.
So, what systems can you change right now? What would you change? I would just change it.
So I made a video for you. That's what started all. That's what,
None of that had anything to do with it, though.
what are you talking
None
about?
of that. None of that had any cause
every single policy,
racism for fixing culture.
every single policy I listed would lessen the vastly disproportionate outcomes we see between Black and white Americans.
How would it change any of these rates of crimes? How would it change any of the rates of murder, violent crimes? How would any of that change any of that?
Oh, of course it would, because if, first of all, one of the things I listed was universal preschool education. We're familiar with the preschool to prison pipeline. These children who don't receive a proper early childhood education disproportionately likely to go to prison. So if everyone had access to early childhood education, then this would largely dissipate.
Do you think that would change?
Yeah, absolutely, because we can look at societies that do have the. Did you say how? This has been a well documented phenomenon. Is this children that don't have access to good early childhood education? They're disproportionately likely to go to prison. It's referred to as the preschool to prison pipeline.
Do you have any studies on that?
Any studies on the preschool to prison pipeline?
Yeah.
Yeah, just give it a Google. You genuinely, you don't believe that early childhood education has any impact on someone's likelihood to go to prison?
No, I think your home life has more impact than your schooling does. I think that your school doesn't make a fucking difference if your home life is shit.
You don't. I mean, a lot of times, kids spend a gigantic amount of their waking hours at school. You don't think that plays any impact on how they turn out?
Then why aren't they doing good in schools now? The education really isn't that bad.
Based on
Schools
what?
just aren't the
Whoa, based on what?
Based on our statistical, what we have right now.
We lag well behind European nations. We lag even further behind Asian nations.
In their schools? What is so bad in their schools that they're doing bad?
What is so bad in our school? What like you want like specific?
In these bad schools, what is the bad aspects of the school that is not fixing any problems? That's not educating children.
Well, a lot of times these places
You can throw any money you want at these schools. What's going to fix it?
Well, what we're talking about is people having access to early childhood education at all. I'm talking about people that don't have it, period. You're aware that preschool, you're aware that there are a large portion of people that don't go to preschool, right?
So preschool is going to fix it. Just preschool.
Early childhood is some of the most formative years of a person's life. Like the vast majority of your brain development.
I would say that elementary school is a little more important. Your home life is going to make more of a difference than a school for preschool.
I mean, this is a scientific question. Your brain development, I think it's like what is it, 70% of it takes place in the first 5 years of your life.
So if we take all of our kids from ages like 3 to 5 and we develop it, there's all going to be good. Their outcomes are just going to be phenomenal compared to what they would be without it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really,
There's so many countries that
three
we
to
can look at.
5 years old make that big of a difference.
Yeah, this is there's you should look up Reggio, Italy. This is a nation. This is an area that has phenomenal early childhood education. The Scandinavian model. They put so much
Did
effort
they?
into their.
So these tests take these kids from 3 to 5, put them in a great preschool, and then put them in like a shitty school after that
No,
with shitty childhood.
that's not how a study would take place.
And
You'd
how
look
are
at.
you going to know that outcome's going to make a difference?
I mean, it's like anything. We would look at children that have had access to it and look at children that haven't had access to it, and you would compare and you would try to
Yeah,
control.
but what about the home life?
You
What's
could
the
try
home
to
life like? What's the
well,
the school after that like?
as in almost every study, you would control for as many variables as possible, and you would do that.
Those are variables though. Those are in those studies.
Yes, yes. You don't think that like things like your economic status outside of school that those are taken into account in studies?
I mean, ours are absolutely
What
terrible.
what study are you referring to? What study is not taking this into account?
No, I'm asking you if your study has these things. If your study actually has a very, very low income, crime ridden, like almost dangerous childhood, but the preschool makes a difference.
So obviously there are many factors that can take place, and I listed a number of things, but we chose to hone in on preschool because early childhood education is one of the most important things in a person's developmental process. But there are a lot of things: access to healthcare, access to after education, just better access to better resources. If there your infrastructure in your town is better, this is going to lead to more things. If many aspects of your life aren't criminalized, that's going to lead to better outcomes. It's not going to be a
Obviously.
one-stop solution.
No, and these things could better anybody, obviously, but they're not systems put in place that are holding anybody down.
Well,
Right?
we're talking about
There's no
we're talking
systems
about solutions.
forcing anybody. What?
We're talking about solutions.
You're talking about solutions to fix equity, or solutions to fix outcomes. You're not talking about anything that's stopping racism or the system of racism that you're referring to.
You ask what policies you ask would close the wildly disproportionate gap we see between white and black Americans.
The disproportion. First, you have to prove that the disproportionate gap is because of racism.
Wait. We can. I don't know if we don't have the ability to roll the tape back, but that's what you asked for. You asked for what policies would close the disproportionate gap.
The dispro-
Wait. Why do you think I
systemic
started?
racism?
Huh?
Systemic racism,
Yes, systemic racism.
right? Something within the system that is purposely holding somebody back.
That's not
That
the
they
definition. That's not
cannot
even the
fix
that's not even the
themselves.
definition you
They
used at the
cannot fix
beginning of this
themselves. The
debate.
government could just snap. I fixed it. No longer systemic.
Do you think that like a solution something's not a problem if it doesn't have a snap your fingers solution?
If it's systemic, yeah. If it's a system that's putting people into a certain position, then that system stops, and then the racism is done, right?
No one has ever made that claim.
So then systemic racism would never end, no
It's not
matter
the
what you did throughout the system.
so
Until the outcomes are even, systemic racism exists.
if the
Is that-
definition of systemic racism is a system that leads to is that perpetuates racist outcomes. And so what we see is so obviously things don't have to be exactly even. We can put a little nuance to this conversation. Obviously, if there's some sort of difference between green-eyed people and blue-eyed people, if we can look and we see that there's some slight difference between that, that's not even remotely close to what we're talking about. I mean, we can look at like the actual numbers. These aren't like tiny differences. We're talking about gigantic differences. If these we're able to close these these
prove
gaps,
they're from racism.
prove racist intent, right?
No, prove they are from racism.
Yes,
Prove
like the
they
war on drugs.
are from racism.
Wait. If the war on drugs was designed with specific racist intent, that is racism. If this is disproportionately hurting black Americans,
what's-
how does that not prove that it's from racism?
Because nobody is forcing anything on them.
Nobody is okay. That's not the claim. No one is claiming. Is somebody criminalized? If you're wearing, so
Are you saying-
you're wearing a hat right now, right? If they criminalize wearing hats and you walk outside and they throw you in jail, would you say that was fairly oppressive?
Do you think that black people are stupid by any chance?
No.
Then so you don't give them any accountability at all.
Them accountability. I give them as much accountability as anybody else.
Well, then why are they falling for this? If this has been an issue for 50, 60 years, why are they falling for this?
This has been
If they are-
this
if
has
they-
been an issue for centuries.
Because
in
you're
this
telling
country.
them it's not their
literally
fault.
since the
You're
founding
telling
of
them
this
it's somebody
country. This
else's
has
fault,
been
and
an
somebody else
issue.
needs to fix it. They don't need to fix anything.
Wait, no, 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 no. Wait. This is
They
bizarre.
have full
Wait, wait,
control
wait,
over
wait,
the
whoa, whoa, whoa.
situation,
You
right?
said this has
No,
been
they
going on since
have full control
for
over that
56 years. You
situation.
said this has not been going on for 56 years.
50 to 60 years, yes.
No. These systems of oppression have been taking place since the founding of this country, and I think we both agree
How is
on
it
that.
oppressive? That's what oppressive
You're
would
kidding.
be,
You're
wouldn't
kidding, right? Wait. No. Since the founding of this country, you don't think that there have been oppressive
oppression
systems?
is forcing. Oppression is forcing. What is forcing? Right now?
Slavery was fairly oppressive, wouldn't we agree?
Obviously, today. What is
No.
oppressive?
You
What
said
is
wait.
forcing people?
History didn't start yesterday.
I'm talking about today. Systemic racism today.
No.
That's what we're
But you
talking
made a very specific claim. You said, "Oh, this stuff has been
Yes.
going on for 60 years. Why haven't they solved it?" This hasn't been going on for 60 years. It's been going on for hundreds of years.
The war on drugs. We were talking about the war on drugs.
Yes, but the war on drugs is a carryover effect. That's what I'm saying. You seem to be wanting to look at this without any sort of nuance or any sort of greater understanding. This is all
Yes,
part of
I
a greater.
want to know today, what is forcing people? What is oppressing people to create these outcomes today that they cannot control?
Just out of curiosity, you view taxation as oppressive, right? You view it as governmental theft. You view it as oppressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so you view governmental laws that as oppressive, correct?
Yes. Anything that's taking. I mean, you're taking my money. You're preventing me from having more money.
Okay, but,
that I
but
earn.
so
Yeah,
a government, just even though that it's law, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these
Yeah,
laws.
so what law-
No.
what
So
laws
these laws, such as the war on drugs, can also be oppressive.
if you fall for it, yeah. If you commit the crime,
This thing that we're agreeing shouldn't be a crime, right?
doesn't matter.
If you found
Are
out that there was a
committing-
country, if you found out that there was a country that it's a crime to chew bubble gum, would you
Are
say
they
that?
committing the crime?
Would you say that's oppressive? A law that outlaws chewing bubble gum. Would you say that's oppressive?
I don't know if that'd be oppressive. How's it stopping you in any way?
It stops you from chewing bubble gum. A law that says you're not allowed to chew
That's
bubble
it.
gum. Would you say that that's oppressive?
Isn't the definition of oppressing like stopping you economically?
I have no idea what the definition.
something in place stopping you economically?
Let's look up the definition
look
if
that
you'd
up.
like. I thought we were using the term colloquially, but we can look up the actual definition. Here we go. Unjustly inflicting hardship or constraint.
There we go. Hardship.
Okay,
Chewing bubblegum isn't a hardship.
so if the government came out tomorrow and said you're not allowed to chew bubblegum, you'd say that's fine. That is a-okay. That's a free and just society.
It's not.
right there.
I would disagree with it, but it's not technically oppressive. No.
Is definitionally impressive. Now, obviously there are layers to this thing. Being able to chew bubblegum versus limiting the number of children that you can have. Obviously there are layers to oppressive.
How are black being oppressed today?
Wait.
If I'm a white farmer, I'm oppressed, obviously, because I'm not getting money where somebody else is. Somebody else is getting my tax dollars, and I'm not under the same program because of the color of my skin. That's oppressive, right? If I have a disadvantage of getting a job by law, that's oppressive to me, right?
Do you think that immediately after slavery ended?
oppressive?
No, wait. Do you think that immediately after
Is it
slavery
oppressive?
ended? Wait. Do you think that immediately after
Is it
slavery
oppressive?
ended? Do you support Martin
Answer
Luther
the
King?
question, man.
Do you support Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you
Answer
like
the
him?
question.
No, I don't.
that
No,
oppressive?
no. It's obviously not oppressive. That's obviously not what is oppressive.
It's not oppressive to not give me money, but give other people money because of the color of my skin. We have the same job.
I think that systems that are trying to alleviate
It's not oppressive.
No, I don't think. Wait, let's hold. Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't disagree. Martin Luther King Jr. was very in favor of affirmative action. Do you think that this is?
What does it have to do with it?
Well, do you think that he was an oppressive person? Do you think he was a racist person?
No.
No, exactly. Because that's why I tried to ask you. Right after slavery, do you think reparations would have been wrong?
Depends on the. I don't know.
Well, this is a layup of a question. Wait a second.
No.
Do you think that
depends.
reparations would have been wrong after slavery? This has to be the easiest question in the world.
After slavery, if the reparations coming from the slave owners, then no, I absolutely believe that'd be fine.
But you're aware that that would have been done along racial lines, right?
Yeah, no. If it was from the slave owners, then absolutely.
Okay. What about
If
some
it was
sort of
from everybody else,
what about some sort of reparations after Jim Crow?
I guess it's hard to draw the line of who owes money and who doesn't. That's the issue I have with reparations.
It's the government. The government is the one that's committed these. And
the government is the people.
The government is the people. Oh, exactly. And the government is the people, and that's why our tax dollars can go to these systems to alleviate the negative things that our government did, right?
Yeah,
if the government is the
who
people,
fought against it. So if I fought against trying to free slavery or whatever, I should still be punished. And you should take my money for it.
I think that all of us, it's our country, and I think that all of us pay into this system. And I think that if our system has negatively impacted people, it's almost our duty. I think it's almost patriotic that you should pay into the
So
system.
do you think that these white farmers should get reimbursed then for all the money that they're not getting?
Reimburse. What do you reimburse? That doesn't mean. What do you think reimburse means?
If they're not getting aid because of the color of their skin, that's a form of racism, right? Should they get reimbursed for that? Because that's kind of a racist crime.
We just established though. We just established that
You wouldn't even tell me if that was oppressive. You said that wasn't oppressive in any way.
I don't think it's oppressive. Wait. Do you think that someone not giving you money is oppressive?
No.
Then what? Then please stop using that
Is it
example because
racist?
wait, no.
Is it
Wait. You just said it's not oppressive, so that should end this ridiculous. That should end this ridiculous notion. You
I'll
just
give
said it's not
that one.
oppressive.
Is it racist?
Is it racist? No.
Yes. It's not racist.
No. Trying to alleviate. No. Trying to.
People by the color of their skin. That's it.
All right. Once again, if you were trying to, unless you think that Martin Luther King was racist, unless you think the vast majority of the members of the civil rights movement were racist, I think that what you're saying is
What does that have to do with giving people money today because of the color of their skin?
once again, you're aware that people are still alive today.
What if they didn't give it to black?
You're aware there are people
What if
alive
they
today
didn't
that
give it to
lived
black
under Jim
farmers?
Crow.
All farmers, would that be okay?
There are people. Excuse me.
What if they didn't give the money to the black farmers only? Would that be okay?
What are you saying? If they only gave it to black farmers?
If Biden's farm aid plan gave money aid to all but black farmers, would that be okay?
I don't think that would be okay. No.
But it's okay if he does it to white people.
I don't. Frankly, I think that aid should be done more along class lines. I think that there has been historic
What if they're all in the same exact class?
Yeah, no,
Right
that's
now,
why
they're
that's why I
all
think it's dumb.
separate.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Biden's policy. I have no idea about his.
You don't have to know anything about the policy.
Okay, but I'm saying I don't know anything. So we're just talking about the broad.
concept.
We're talking about the broad concept of affirmative action, right?
We're talking about aid going to specific people because of the color of their skin.
Yes, this is affirmative. This is an affirmative.
Even if it was hypothetical, you should be able to answer this. No
This is an affirmative action program, and yes, and I think that history didn't start yesterday, and that it's okay to have programs. So yeah,
What if these farmers came from nothing? What if they came from homeless?
No,
And
that's
they
what I said.
raised themselves up.
I already conceded.
They're gonna go out
I
of
don't think
business.
that. I think that these policies should be
It's
administered.
racist if it's for black, but not for white.
I think that
That's your position.
these things should be administered along class lines. I think that that's a much more
That's
just
not what I'm
way of
asking
doing.
you.
How is that not? How is that not relevant? How is what I would do not relevant?
Let's say they're all on the same playing field. They all start at the same point. They're at the same point right now. But because of the color of their skin, one is allowed to have aid, but one is not because of the color of their skin.
I don't think
That
it's
is
a
the
problem
question.
to try and lift up historically oppressed communities because this country has a long
Who
history.
says they're oppressed?
We've already.
These black farmers.
I just had
If they
said.
started at the
I
exact
just
same
said
point as the white
historically oppressed communities. We agreed that there's still people alive today.
This person
that
could be an
lived-
immigrant that came
that
over from
li-
another country.
That lived. Is this a
doesn't
big problem?
matter.
Is this a big problem? Have a lot of people.
We're talking about the color of the skin, dude. That's all that matters in this conversation. They could have been immigrants. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have history in America
Wait.
with slavery.
It
doesn't
so
matter.
it so does. Wait, you're saying the history doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying giving people money due to the color of their skin or not giving them money due to the color of their skin.
Look, I don't.
Even if they're
once
exactly
again,
the same playing field, is that okay? You're
I
saying
don't.
it's okay.
I
if they
don't
give to
support
black people.
I don't support these programs. I think that they should be done on class lines. I don't think that
Well,
it's
then why-
smart. What'd you say?
Well, then why is it okay to not give it to black people? I'm sorry. Why is it okay
I
to
just said I
not
don't
give
support
to
those
white
programs.
people
Wait.
versus
I just said I don't support those programs. I think it should be done along class lines.
No, you said it's fine if they don't give it to white people, but it's not fine if they don't give it to black
I
people.
didn't say it's fine. I said that I don't support programs like that because I think class lines is the smarter distinction to draw. Because I do think that poor white Americans have also
But this
underwent.
is about race. This conversation is about race, and that was the topic. That was the question I asked you.
Yes, it is, and I'm
that
telling you
was
what
your answer.
I'm telling you what I would do. Wait, this is insane. This is the concept known as intersectionality because these things all intersect with each other. This is not like just a one. You seem to want to just it has to be one solution to solve systemic racism, and it has to be one policy about this one thing. This all intersects. This is all part
To
of a
stop
very.
it being systemic. That's all. I think that once the laws are in place, then it's no longer systemic because the power is in the people's hands. After it's in the people's hands, well, then it's the after effects from systemic racism because now it's their turn to change it.
But
they have the ability to, if they want to. So it's no longer systemic. It's up to them. Systemic is when it is within the system to force it on them. That's my belief. Maybe if we disagree on the definition of systemic racism,
I could care less about the term systemic racism. I'm talking about concept here. If you never want to use the term systemic racism, I think that I don't think that matters. We're talking about the concept of a system that's perpetuating racist outcomes. That's what I'm arguing about.
perpetuating but doesn't create them.
It's creating
Doesn't
perpetuating.
force them. I'm sorry. Doesn't force them.
You said creating. That's actually a good term. Yes, it's creating
Force.
these.
We'll say force.
I don't think that
That's
force
what I'm
is.
saying.
I don't
That's
think
what I'm
that
saying.
force is the
I'm
right
saying
word to
there's
use.
nothing in the system today to force these outcomes. That the outcomes are up due to the individuals, not the
Well,
system.
I think that force, if we're talking about government force, if you make something illegal and then you forcefully attain people and you forcefully put them into prison labor, I think that there's quite a bit of force involved in that, don't you?
If it's specifically tied to a certain race, then yeah.
Even if the person says, if we know, so okay, you, you know that there are, 10 people, you have 10 people. All of them, three of them were forced to wear red shirts their whole lives. They've been forced to wear red shirts their whole lives. And then, it was, they couldn't do certain things because of the red shirts. Now, it was targeted about these people. And then later we say, well, anyone with a blue shirt, they're allowed, we end these laws that target people with red shirts. But then we say anyone with a blue shirt, they can go, get the ice cream. Would you say that that doesn't target the people with the red shirts? You think that the history is completely irrelevant in these laws? Because like I said, literacy tests, these took place under Jim Crow. They weren't explicitly, they didn't talk about race in the laws, but they knew because black people were disproportionately illiterate, they were going to disproportionately disenfranchise black Americans.
Yeah, and that was obviously a past. There was a lot of systemic racism in the past,
No, no,
obviously.
no, no, no.
I,
But this, but
we're at the point where it is the after effects from the systemic racism. But
no.
I believe that our fixes for these problems aren't the system. So it's not systemic anymore. It is within the people, changing the people, the culture, the mindset. That is the fix.
This is bizarre to me though, because you agree though that these things shouldn't be illegal. You just seem to be unwilling to admit that
It
these.
doesn't matter if they're illegal or not.
It does matter. It does. This is
No,
what
it
the
doesn't.
definition of oppressive is. It's unjust, inflicting hardship. We believe that these laws
No,
are
no.
unjust.
Oppressed would be forcing it.
No, no. There's
Nobody's
no word that
forcing
says
them to
force in
suffer.
oppress. I'm looking at the
What is the
definition.
definition?
I'm looking at the definition right here. This is a Lexico definition.
Okay. Can you read it for me,
Unjustly,
please, again?
unjustly inflicting hardship and constraint.
Inflicting.
Yes, inflicting.
What's the definition of inflicting? Can you look that up for me, please?
Lying. Okay, fine. Inflicting definition.
Sounds forceful.
Cause.
That's what inflicted just
The
means.
definition of inflict is to cause. Cause to be suffered. Let's see. Cause to be suffered by someone or something. That's the definition of inflict.
So the cause would be the people making the decisions.
No. No, no, no. The cause would be the government.
If they don't make the decision, then there was no cause.
I think
Then
you've lost.
nothing
I think
matters.
you've lost the context of the definition. The definition was, let's see, unjustly inflicting hardship and constraint. We're talking about the government. It's not the people. We're not saying the people are being oppressive.
Yes, the government would be causing these people into these hardships.
Yes.
They'd be forcing them into these hardships.
No, no, no. No one's saying force. We're saying cause. The government is causing these unjust hardships and constraints.
So you don't believe that would be something where the government has to actually create these situations to
The government
force
is
them
the
into.
government is creating these situations by making marijuana illegal, for example.
But they're not forcing the people to break the law to go to prison or anything like that. That's within the people's power. That's the people.
No, no, no. That has nothing to do with whether or not something is oppressive.
I'm looking up. Hang on. Cause make something happen.
You looked up the definition of cause.
Yep.
Okay, I'm glad this hasn't gone down a rabbit hole at all.
No, I understand. I know the whole definition thing, but to oppress somebody, you literally have to put them in a position.
It's not.
It's
Not
I'm
that,
telling
that is.
you,
Wait.
if
That's not. Where did you?
if-
Where are you
no, no,
deriving
no,
this
no,
definition?
no.
Where are you deriving this
Just like I
definition?
said, if I have a bunch of fast food restaurants around me, they're not causing me to get fat. I'm the one that's causing myself to get fat. Right? If I eat at them.
We're talking about the word oppressive. All right. The
Yes.
word oppressive.
Yes,
It
that's
doesn't.
that. So these fast food restaurants around me are not wouldn't be. Let's say they're not oppressing me to create this obesity.
Okay, but that's
I have
not
that-
analogous to this. If it said, "Hey, you can't buy a cheeseburger anymore," that would be oppressive.
True.
Yes, just like saying you can't buy marijuana. That is oppressive.
Forcing me to eat only fast food and creating me to
Wait.
causing me
You
to
just
become.
you just said saying that you can't buy a cheeseburger is oppressive, making that law, right?
Yes, that would be oppressive.
Yes, just like
Well,
making
no,
marijuana.
it wouldn't. That wouldn't be oppressive. I'm sorry,
Why?
because that's not harming me in any way. Preventing me to buy a cheeseburger, that's not harming me in any way. Per definition of oppression, that's not
Yes,
That's
that's
not creating
unjustly inflicting hardship, limiting your food consumption.
hardship. Thank you. Hardship. No, no, no. Cheeseburger wouldn't be creating hardship for me. I could eat anywhere I want,
No,
other
you
than
can't. No,
fast
you
food. That's
can't eat
that's
anywhere
not.
you want.
If I can't eat anywhere, then no. If fast food's my only place I can eat, that and you're stopping me, then
Do
yeah.
you think
But
someone has to be
if I take all fast food restaurants away, that is not oppressive because there's grocery stores, there's other areas that you can eat.
really? So if you found out that China had
So were we
made
oppressed before we had fast food restaurants?
there was no law saying that you couldn't have fast food restaurants. We're talking
I
about
know.
oppressive. We're
I
talking
know.
about oppressive laws. So if you found out that another country, if you couldn't watch TV in this country, they made it illegal to watch TV. You wouldn't say that's oppressive.
In a way, it could be. It depends if you get your news media from there, and you want to learn from the. If it was only cartoons playing on there, then no, it wouldn't be oppressive
So
because it's not creating hardship. It's not creating any negative effect to stop you from living your
this,
daily life. Otherwise, you could say that before we had TVs, we're oppressive.
no, 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 no,
We were
no, no. There's
oppressed.
a huge difference between innovation, not have reached something yet, and a government law stopping you from doing something. Wouldn't you agree that
Exactly.
there's
No,
a
no, no.
difference?
If it harms you, then yes, it's oppressive. If it's something that doesn't harm you, then it's not oppressive.
You don't think that but okay, it just is unjustly inflicting hardship and constraint. The constraint, okay, it is constraining you by
Hardship
limiting.
and constraint, not or and.
Okay, yes,
Hardship and constraint.
hardship and constraint. You're being constrained, and it is a
That's
hardship.
important. It has to be hardship as well.
Yes, and obviously hardship is going to be subjective. And I know you're trying to play, Mr. Tough Guy here and say, well, it doesn't matter if I can't watch TV, as long as I, have my spear and I can go
I don't
hunt
watch
animals.
TV. I'm
Huh?
not oppressed. I said I don't watch it. I don't watch TV.
No, but you have the option to, right?
I do. Yes, I have the freedom to. Yes.
Yes, you do. You do. Now, if there was a law that says you couldn't watch TV, I think you're lying when you say that
Like no, no,
if
like
no, no,
I
no,
said,
if the
it could
government
be
if the
depending.
government came out tomorrow and said that Nickelodeon has been banned, you wouldn't say that's oppressive.
Not if it was Nickelodeon. If it was news media, all those things that were important to know, like your daily weather, what's going on around you, that could be oppressive. But not if it's just like cartoons or entertainment. No, it's not oppressive.
So it's
It's
yeah,
not
okay.
creating hard.
All
It's
right,
not
yeah, yeah.
creating
Let's say
hardship.
movies. Let's say the movie industry. Tomorrow, the government went out and shut down Hollywood. There's no more, there's going to be no more movies.
No, the only oppression that would happen there would be the people that had the jobs that lost their jobs. Now that'd be oppressive to them.
But in
But it
terms
wouldn't be
of
oppressive to me not being able to watch
from the
movies. No.
consumption side of things, there is no oppression if the government said tomorrow.
Not to me, the watcher, just to the people who were employed.
Okay,
And
all
are
right,
losing money.
forget the employers for a second, because also there are people that sell
To me, though,
narcotics.
no, it would not be oppressive to tell me I can't watch movies anymore.
Really, and you're like a small government libertarian kind of guy, right?
Kind of libertarian, yeah.
Yeah, but you're saying that a government law that
We're not arguing about whether I think it's okay or not. We're arguing about whether it's oppressive. There's a
yeah.
big difference. Just like the whole drug thing. We're not arguing about whether I think it's okay or not. We're talking about whether it's legal or not, and whether you are okay taking the consequences, knowing them ahead of time.
Let's say if the
based on
government
the
says
outcome.
if the government says it's illegal to wear the color blue, is that oppressive?
No.
Really, you genuinely think if the government came out tomorrow,
How does that hurt me?
if Joe Biden
How
came
does
out
that
tomorrow,
hurt me?
if Joe Biden came out tomorrow, executive order, you can't wear the color blue. What would you say? Is that oppressive?
I would say he's a fucking moron, but no, it's not oppressive.
I feel like we've gone down that rabbit hole quite a bit.
How does not wearing blue harm you?
Is a hardship and constraint.
Yeah, how is it a hardship for your life?
It is taking out an
changes?
entire. Because I believe in freedom. I think that people should be able to wear whatever color they want.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. But how is it creating hardship for you?
Not being able to.
The only way it'd be oppressive to you is if you own a bunch of blue shirts.
Wait,
that
no,
you
no,
paid for,
no.
and
The
I go
idea
on
that
and
if I walk out the street in a blue shirt, I can be put in jail. I think that's oppressive.
could be
When could it?
well, no, it's not. It wouldn't be.
So if someone walks out the street, blue shirt, they're thrown in jail. You would say that's not oppressive.
Because they don't have to wear the blue shirt.
But so,
Choosing to. They're choosing to break the law.
and so you'd say that's not oppressive.
Well, is it a no?
That okay? I think that you just have a different definition of oppressive.
No. No. If you purposely are doing something to create your own hardship when you know it shouldn't, then yeah, that's not oppressive. That's you just being an idiot.
I think that you are a little too quick to make excuses for very oppressive laws, for saying that it's not oppressive for the government to.
Not wearing blue is a very oppressive law.
I think that the government telling what color you can wear would be incredibly oppressive.
Stupid.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
You
within
seem
the
to just be
definition of
unwilling to use the word oppressive.
no, I'm the one that's trying to ask you what's oppressive today.
I'm giving
What
you
is
I'm giving you the definition of oppressive, and
yes,
I'm
yes.
telling you what's oppressive. I'm saying the war on drugs is oppressive. I'm saying
Oppressive,
that our
forcing
system of
people
mass
into hardship.
incarceration is
Yes,
oppressive. I'm saying that all these things are
forcing
oppressive.
people into hardship. Who's forcing these people into hardship, other than themselves?
You don't
Who's
think
forcing them
prison?
into
You don't think
hardship?
prison is a hardship?
No, I think putting waving needles
Criminalizing
into
behavior,
somebody's face is
criminalizing
not hardship.
unjustly criminalizing certain behavior, and then throwing you in prison for it.
Unjustly, yes, absolutely unjustly. Totally agree. But that would be subjective, wouldn't it? Me and you
It's
think
all
that
subjective. Politics isn't a
exactly.
science. It's all going to be subjective.
No, no, and I want you to prove what is forcing certain people. That you can prove. That can be factual. Prove what is forcing people into this racist system to become criminals and to have these bad outcomes that you agree that these statistical outcomes are caused by.
Do you think that a restaurant that has a sign that says black people aren't allowed to eat here? Do you think that that's oppressive in any way?
It could be by definition.
It it,
I think it's wrong.
it is by
I think it's
definition.
absolutely
It
wrong.
is by definition oppressive.
There you go.
But no
Yeah.
one's.
Is it government or any group?
It's a restaurant that's put out a sign that
No, no,
says
I'm saying definition of oppression. I think it's absolutely stupid. Yeah, but is it government or is it group?
the
The meaning
situation
of
is a
oppression.
restaurant.
No, no, the definition of oppression.
The definition of oppression just says unjustly inflicting hardship and constraint, especially on a minority or other subordinate group.
It doesn't say who from.
No,
Okay, then yes, it would be oppressive.
it would be. I agree. But now
Yep.
that's no one's forcing them. They could go eat lots of places. But we're agreeing it's
Mhm.
oppressive, right?
Yeah. So what laws are saying no, you can't do this because you're black?
It's not
We
because
know what laws are saying you can't have this because you're white. But what laws do we have that are saying you can't do this because you're black?
so this is we can look
That would
up.
be oppressive, right?
That would be
What
incredibly
laws
impressive.
say
I
you
think that
can't do this because you're black?
there are tiers to this thing. There are tiers. You can have apartheid like we had in South Africa. You can have Jim Crow laws like we had in America. And we can also have the prison industrial system that we have here. We can have the
Do you think it's oppressive if I go to a job interview versus somebody who's black and they have an advantage over me by law? Is that oppressive to me?
there's no laws that do that.
Yeah, I've had this situation happen before.
That wasn't a law. That was a private company making that decision.
Affirmative action.
You think there's a law that says
To say that I can punish you as a business if you do not hire a certain amount of demographic of a race, that's not
if I'm
oppressive
not
to the
mistaken,
other people
which state are you referring to? What law are you referring to?
we'll try my state of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay. What law are you referring
Affirmative
to?
action. Just any of the affirmative action. Just look up. There is a certain amount of, I believe affirmative action is there's a certain amount of demographics that you have to hire that you interview. I believe that is what affirmative action law is.
But you don't think that the fact that
Do you
there's
have it on there?
I can't find anything about like a specific law. I don't know if you know a law that like I could look up or like
I know they can be penalized. I know legally a business can be penalized for not having a certain demographic. That was the law originally.
I don't see. Is there like an example, like a business? Maybe you don't want me to look up. But the
Yeah, I'm
point is,
looking
though,
right
I don't think affirmative action is. And like, let me ask you: do you think that Martin Luther King Jr. was racist?
Well, why are we going back to this? No, I don't.
Okay, but he supported.
I don't. I
He
don't necessarily
support.
think he was racist. I know that he was not a very violent person. I know that for sure.
Yeah, he wasn't a violent person. I think I wholeheartedly endorsed his politics, and you know that he supported affirmative action, right?
I have no clue.
He did,
Okay,
and so
what does it have to do with me?
I'm asking if you think he was racist,
No,
even though he
I
supported
think
this.
I think the law itself can be.
But you don't think that he's racist for supporting this law that you think is racist?
Not necessarily. To be racist, you have to think that one race is inferior to the other. To think that somebody needs help because of the laws isn't necessarily believing that one group is inferior. It just believes that the laws themselves are unjust. If today you believe that certain people, well, I guess if you believe the laws are unjust, then no. But if you think that certain people need help because of their education or other things, just because of the color of the skin, then you could be thinking that they're inferior.
So you
So
think
there's
that
certain
if
aspects
people
of
believe
thinking.
that if people believe that our system is unjust, then affirmative action laws aren't racist?
Depends on their views of why they believe affirmative action should
I
exist.
don't think there's a single person that supports affirmative action for any reason aside historic oppression against minority communities.
Historic keyword, yeah. Today, no.
Historic just refers to throughout time.
Yeah. Pretense. Yeah, obviously there was oppression pretense. Today, no.
No, yes, it still existed. Okay, once again though. So it's just
Then
total
what laws are
total
oppressive?
coincidence. Total coincidence then that black Americans are disproportionately represented in our prison system. This is coincidental, right? Or is
If they
this
commit more crimes, then no, it's not a coincidence.
no, it's but what see we're just going to circle back to it though because unless you have some other
You can
reason.
come up with many excuses why they do, but it doesn't change the fact that they do.
No. This aren't excuses. We can trace this back pretty closely to the fact that the war on drugs. We can trace this back to the
Decisions that they make, yeah.
no no
Like,
no
like
no.
I said, you can make excuses all day long. It doesn't change the fact that they do.
Why do you believe
You
though that
could
they
be
would
more
be
crime.
disproportionate? Is there a
Say
reason
what?
that you think that they might be disproportionately likely to make these decisions? This might
Does
speak
it
to
matter?
some views that
Fact
you
the
hold.
fact is that
No, but why?
I believe it's culture.
But you see, you keep running back to culture, but you can't actually like give me a specific like part of the culture. Like you want to say, what about the culture? Would you because this is the thing.
Identity. Trying to find your identity to
You don't think that there are white Americans that
try
are
to
trying to
try
find their
and
identity?
prove that you are not as inferior as you are taught from childhood. So you try to be prideful. Pride obviously is a huge reason
Okay,
why
see,
people
okay, now
commit
this is
fights.
no. Because you keep saying that this is carried over from. So this is your position is that the current state is carried over from
Yeah.
our past. This is your position. But then when I ask you what's wrong with the culture, you say, "Oh, it's because they're taught from children that they've been victimized and everything." Even though your entire position is that it is because they were victimized.
No, because they're being taught they're victimized. There's a difference between actually being victimized and being taught that you're
But
victimized.
you
Yeah.
you already conceded though that you agree that there has been enormous amounts of systemic oppression in this country. You disagree about what
Yes.
you
When
disagree.
you are a victim, you're a victim. When you're not a victim, you're being convinced that you're a victim. So you keep continuing that mindset. Then yeah, obviously the numbers aren't going to
All
change.
right, wait. This might be very illuminating. So you don't think it's actually the policies of redlining and certain things. You don't think it's that's influencing poverty within the black community. You think it's purely just being told that
Today?
these. You think it's just being told that these things happen to black Americans. You think that is what's actually influencing policy.
No.
Not that
I think
we know
these
that home ownership is one of the
numbers.
we know that home ownership is one of the key drivers of wealth in this country. We know that home ownership is key,
Mhm.
and we know that there were governmental policies put in place that
Let me
limited
ask you a
black people
question.
from owning homes. And so you don't
Let me
think
ask you a
that
question.
there's any sort of coincidence that these home that across generational lines, home ownership is going to be one of the biggest reasons in gaining wealth. Now we see a giant wealth gap between black Americans and white Americans. You don't think it has anything to do with laws that were put in place that prevented them from buying homes?
Let me ask you a question. If I'm black, I can barely find a good job. I live in a pretty not very good community, a good area where I make good money, and I want to borrow money from you. Are you going to give it to me?
If someone wants to borrow
If,
money
if
from me,
you if there's even laws in place oppressing me and stopping me from actually creating this capital, are you going to want to borrow money to me, or are you going to be afraid I'm going to pay it back?
wait. So you're asking, would I lend money to someone that I feel like is like oppressed? If I have the financial means, yeah, sure. I'd like to think that I'd lend money to
If
white
you are
people.
if you are a banking institution, it is your business to loan money to get money back, to gain more money back, obviously to invest. Are you going to invest in somebody who pretty much isn't going to be able to pay you? Is that okay to you? I'm not saying redlining is okay. I'm just saying that's the perspective of the situation.
Wait,
These people were put in this
wait.
position where
Redlining was not just banks making some sort of risk analysis.
I know it was more to that, but that was a huge part of it.
What?
Do you think redlines? Do you think the redlining areas are still a problem today?
I think that we no, it's not. What we see is that I think that there's I don't know the specifics. I think that like the obviously the specific discrimination laws have been eliminated, but we see that these like areas that were historically created through redlining, we can see that this what a coincidence. These are still the areas that are in a lot of trouble today.
So the areas that were redlined are still areas of trouble.
These yeah. So for example, so if there is, a certain community that, just was not receiving loans, they were not allowed to, be able to
I don't
send.
know. I'm saying that the red line communities. You think that those areas are still troubled?
There's yeah, of course
Those areas.
there's a
Yes.
lot of trouble in black communities. Yes.
Yeah, those areas, those redlined areas. You think those communities where they were redlined, they're still having troubles today?
Yeah, of course there's still
Do you know how,
troubles.
do you know how much percentage of black people are still in those communities?
Let me hear it.
28%. 72% are non-black.
So
The
you're
highest
saying
majority in those redlined areas are Latino, white, then black.
okay, but
There's 11 million people still in those areas.
okay, but you know that that means black Americans are
So are those white people
more than
still getting
double.
votes now?
You no 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 no. You know that means black Americans more than double what percentage of the population they are in those areas.
What?
So if 28%, if black Americans are roughly 14% of the population, so if they make up 28% of these communities, that means they are double.
If they made up almost 100% of the area, then no, they're reducing. They moved out. If these redlined areas were black areas, the giant area was black owned or black lived in areas, neighborhoods, and now only 28% of that area is black people. They moved out.
What point are you trying to make?
I'm trying to make that. You're saying those areas are basically like bad havens, bad areas to live.
That
I'm
wasn't my
telling you
that wasn't my
they don't
argument.
live there anymore.
That wasn't my
They
argument.
barely live there anymore.
But that wasn't my
What?
argument. I said
just
that
said
laws.
they're
I said
bad
that laws that prohibited homeownership within the black community.
Yeah, back then, yeah, obviously.
So okay, so we know though
So
that
now we have after effects from systemic racism from the past.
the,
Right?
wait. But
What's
then
affecting people today?
don't you realize how disingenuous it is when you then say, oh, it's just because they're taught to be victims. When you're acknowledging that, oh yeah, they weren't allowed.
Today? No, that's not disingenuous.
Okay,
It's
okay.
taking
All
accountability
right,
for your
wait.
actions.
So if the
What's
main
disingenuous about
driver.
telling you should not break the law and you break the law anyways?
The main driver of what I think that people who broke the law in 1940s Germany were heroic. I think that people who stand up to oppression are often heroic. I think that just saying, oh, they're breaking the law, I think that that's a ridiculous cop out. But I think that we can look at if wealth is driven by home ownership, if your grandpa wasn't able to buy a home, and that if that's going to be the
Yes.
main
Past issues, get it.
no,
I got
not
you.
past issue. That is the main driver of wealth in this country.
Yeah, what is stopping them today? What system is put in place stopping them today?
So, I think you're trying not to. If there are people alive,
We're talking about today. We're
there are
talking
people
about systemic
alive
racism
to.
today.
But this isn't okay. Wait. So the day
You're
you
talking
still
about
you
a
still haven't
past
told me.
effect,
Wait.
Jared.
Then what day? What day did it end? What day did systemic racism end?
I don't know whatever date that the laws created us equal.
What day did it
Made
end?
us equal.
What day did it end?
I don't know. Whatever day
Because
the
that day
laws
because that day
stopped
didn't happen.
any
That day didn't happen. There is
oppressive
still
laws,
systemic
done.
oppression today.
Who's oppressing them now?
What day did it end?
Who's forcing them
No,
now?
no, no, no. I want to know what day it ended. If you're saying it was just one day,
Doesn't matter. It
if it
doesn't
just
matter.
snapped
You
your
said
fingers.
there's
No, no, no. I
oppression
want you
today.
Google.
Who's
Google.
forcing the oppression?
Tell me when systemic racism ended. Then you're saying it happened. I want to know when it ended.
Tell me whenever the laws were equal.
What day was
That's when
that?
it ended.
What day was that?
Why does it matter?
Because I don't think that day happened.
What if it was in the 80s? What if it was in the 70s? What does it matter?
I want to know what day, and I want to know if the day after. So everything
does
was
it
just
matter?
fine. So everything was just fine. So there was nothing that needed to be done to fix those things.
Who said anything about being fine or not fine today? Obviously, things need to change. That's not the topic. The topic is if systemic
Okay,
racism
so
exists today.
let's say it ended
forcing people today into these situations, forcing them to have these demographic outcomes.
Let's say it ended
What is forcing?
in 1970. Let's say it ended 1970. That was the day that the end of systemic racism in your mind, of whatever, because you can't give me a day. Let's say it was 1970. It's January 1st, 1970.
Whatever. Yeah, it's fine.
All right, yeah, let's say it's then. January 2nd, 1970. Do you think that the government should do anything to try and alleviate the centuries of what you've conceded is deep systemic racism? Do you think that it's up to the government to do anything to
If there is anything that they can specifically pull from people who were oppressing and fix, then yes.
So
If
there
not,
are
you can't just equity oppresses people. You can't just use equity to try and fix something. You can't say you guys were oppressed, so now we're going to oppress you people to unoppress you. That's not how that works.
well, no, what's the taxing?
Taking money from people who did nothing wrong. Yeah, that's oppressing.
But this is taxing. We pay taxes regardless. It's just where those tax funds are spent.
So
But
Okay, so we're
you're
oppressed.
going to be
Okay,
taxed. You're going to be taxed regardless. So it's just a matter of where those funds are
so that's
allocated.
okay.
Taxing, yes, taxing is absolutely okay.
So is taxing oppressive? Well, obviously, you're not going to think taxing oppressive.
No,
If taxing was oppression, would you? If how do I say this? You don't think oppression is okay?
I don't know.
You're
I
okay
don't.
with them?
I
You're
don't
okay
think
with
oppression is
people
okay.
taking? You just but you do think it's okay to just take your money for whatever reason possible.
I think
Doesn't matter what it's for.
my currency, the dollars in my pocket, have literally no value without the my government printed currency has
it's
no
not.
value without the government. If I couldn't pay taxes with the
Let me
dollar
ask you
in
a
my
question.
pocket, it
Let me ask you a
wouldn't be
question.
valuable.
If you have bills, right?
Bills, yes, I have bills.
If I one day just said I'm taxing 50%, I'm taking 50% of your money. Now you can't pay your bills anymore. Does that create a hardship?
Were you part of
Does that create hardship for
were
you?
you part of some governing body that I elected?
Does that create a hardship for you?
If you as an individual decided you wanted to tax me,
No,
yes.
government takes 50% of your money. Says we're just going to tax you 50%. We want to pay for all this shit. We're just
Wait,
going to tax you 50%.
so if the wait, wait, so if the
You
government
can't pay your bills
tomorrow,
anymore.
so if
Does
wait,
that create a hardship?
well, you're familiar though with taxes that would come like after the bills are paid.
What?
Okay, so
No, it
like
comes after your paycheck.
it comes after your paycheck, but like
When you
they're
get paid, it doesn't come after the bills are paid.
so you pay your taxes, right? If your income is below a certain amount, then you don't have to pay any, or at least federal income taxes.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the government comes out tomorrow and says I'm taxing everybody 50%. Now you can't pay your bills anymore because you don't have enough money. Does that create a hardship for you?
Yes, it would be difficult for me. I don't think that
So
this would,
taxing would be oppression.
if there was some circumstance where I would, but we have a progressive tax system in this country where what you're
Doesn't
describing
matter.
just isn't the case.
Doesn't matter. It's a matter of if taxation, taking your money, creates a hardship for you, then it would be oppression.
Okay, so what is the government doing with these tax funds?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it absolutely matters.
No, it doesn't.
If
All right, I'm going to use me as an example. If Bernie Sanders if he became president, I don't have health insurance right now. I'm very slim on what I can pay for my bills to have my car, my place where I live, a roof over my head. If he all of a sudden says, "All right, we're changing your taxes from
your taxes
19%
wouldn't
to
your taxes wouldn't go up under
45%,"
Bernie. Your taxes wouldn't go up under Bernie.
hold on, it would, yes, but hang
No,
on.
they absolutely would. We
They
can look up
would.
Bernie Sanders' tax plan right now.
Doesn't matter. If he says I'm taxing you more, but you're going to have health care, you're going to have free college, you're going to have whatever, and I no longer can pay my bills, that creates a hardship for me. That is oppression. He's taking my capital that I worked for, spending it where I don't want it spent. That creates a hardship for me. That is oppression. Absolutely.
Okay, but this isn't what's happening.
No, I'm just telling you, taxation is oppression.
No, it's not. No, no, no. If what you were describing was happening, but that's not what's happening. We have a progressive tax rate in this country. We're the only people that would ever
Taxation in general creates hardship.
the only people that would ever be taxed at 50% would be like over even Bernie's. I think was 52% for people making over $2
It doesn't
million
have
dollars.
to. It's an example. It doesn't have to be 50%.
No, yes, no, no.
If
The amount
it's a hardship,
absolutely matters.
if it creates a hardship for you in any way, it is yes oppression. If it forces a hardship onto you, yes, it is oppression. Taxation is a form of oppression.
Remember when you said like laws that like get rid of like the movie industry weren't oppressive? But now you're saying that like
How is it
a
oppressive?
half percent tax is
How does
oppressive.
that create hardship for you?
Not being able to
It's
consume
taking
media.
entertainment
You don't think
from
that?
you. That's it. Is it stopping you from paying your bills? Is it
Okay,
stopping
once
you
again
from
though, once
eating?
again, okay,
Is
okay.
it stopping you from living?
What is being stolen from you with taxes? Your government printed
Money.
currency.
Yeah, things that I need to pay for things.
You
Things that I need to
this is
live.
this is money that the only thing that gives it value is that fact that you can pay taxes for it with our government.
What gives it value is that it's something that somebody else wants in exchange for something I need.
This
That's
is
what gives it
not.
value.
This is no. That's not what
Yes.
gives your money value. No.
Yes. Hey, I want to buy that food from you. What do you want in return? I want that paper. Okay, here, I have that paper.
No. But
That's how that works.
the dollar specifically is its value is derived from the fact that you can pay your taxes in it.
It's derived from the value of the person who wants it. Yeah, it means something through our nation, our government. Yeah, they created the value.
They
There still is
printed
value
they
there.
printed the money. They put the money
So
into
money has no
circulation.
value at all.
Money has value.
In
What
our
are you talking?
society, money has no value.
How is what I'm saying? I said that the value is created. When does that mean that there's no value?
But there's value, is what I'm saying. There is value.
Yes, there is value, but I'm saying
Okay.
where that value comes from is relevant.
Exactly. The fact that it has value and I need that value in order to live, then yeah, it has. Then it's meaningful.
No, no, no. The fact that the
It's a,
reason that the money in your pocket has value because you can pay taxes to it, pay taxes with it. The fact that you've chosen to participate in this system and you've chosen to enjoy all the benefits of this society. We're using internet right
do you
now.
donate all of your paychecks to charities?
No.
Why not?
Why don't I donate my entire
Why
paycheck
don't
to
you do
charity?
it? Yeah,
Because
why not?
I need
If it has
money
more
to.
value to you, why?
Wait. Okay, this is a straw man. Yeah. When did I say money has no value?
You just said that if I can't, you're saying that the government taking something away from me because it has no value. I almost
Wait.
swear to God that's what you said.
You know that that's not what I said. I said what gives our money value is the fact that it can be paid. You can pay taxes with it. That is why the U.S. dollar is worth something.
All right. Well, if that's what you said, how is that relevant?
It's not theft. Your government printed currency. The government is not stealing it when it is being taxed.
I earned it.
That you earned it under the infrastructure
Yes.
and the support that is created by the government. You can't just walk into someone's house and start cleaning up. If you decide to make yourself a snack when you're in someone's house, you're like, "Hey, I made this snack. This is mine." That's not how it works.
So if we start, if for some reason our government used bananas as currency, and they just said, "I'm just going to take your bananas," that doesn't matter because that's the currency that the government used for us to create value. I'm not quite understanding what you're trying to say and how that's relevant. Saying that taking it from me, even though I earned it, is not oppression.
So I'm gonna try and be clear with this. If the government has created a fiat currency, this is a currency created by our government to pay taxes with. That is what that's what the currency is for. And so we put it into circulation in this country. If people don't want to use this currency, they can go somewhere else. They can go to international waters. They can go to another country. But in this country, so they've created this fiat currency so that people can.
How do we pay for food then?
With that same fiat currency.
So it matters that they take it from me.
What? Why do you keep thinking that because something is fiat that means that it doesn't have value?
Why bring it up if it doesn't matter then?
Because to say this.
Why even talk?
So okay. If you and me are gonna play a board game, and I make some fake money for this board game. It's like a version of Monopoly, and we make this. And part of the game is that every time you pass go, you have to put $10 into the little pool. Now you can't say, "Hey, whoa, why are you taking my money? This is this." It's part of the game. This is part of the game you wanted to play. If you don't want to play the game anymore, I guess you don't have to play. But this is the money we use in the game. You didn't make the money.
If you had to actually live from that game and you had to eat and you had to work and you had to do all that stuff from that board game, then yeah, absolutely, it'd be creating a hardship for you. A board game is not creating a hardship for you.
I think you're missing the point of the analogy. The point is that you're choosing to participate in this system, this game, whatever you want to call it, that you did not build the infrastructure for.
It doesn't matter how the system starts or which way it is designed. If somebody's creating a hardship for you, they are oppressing you.
You mean like criminalizing drugs? You mean like that? How that creates a hardship for someone?
No, that doesn't create a hardship for somebody.
So if someone,
how does it become a hardship for you if you can't sell drugs?
So if you if you sell marijuana, that's how you get by. Then tomorrow, the government. Wait, no, wait, whoa, no. Don't stop the example. 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 If you sell those, that's how you make your living. And then the government makes it illegal tomorrow, and then they throw you in jail for it. That is a hardship.
If it's already illegal, yes. If it's not, and then they make it illegal, that's one thing.
You understand that it was. You understand that it wasn't. It wasn't always illegal in this country.
Yeah, and then if people got in trouble for it after, then yes, that would be oppression. But if you started selling it when it's already illegal as your career, then no, they're not oppressing you. It was already illegal.
So. You don't think that? Okay, this is such a circular argument, and I don't think you really believe this.
Let's just say that I'm into sex trafficking and I want to sell children, even though it's illegal. Is it oppressing if I say, oh, "Hey, you can't arrest me for selling children for sex trafficking"?
No, that's not oppressive
Why?
to say that you can't do that, because children can't consent.
They can.
No, they can't.
Not legally, but legal doesn't matter to you.
Well, It's not saying that.
I'm just saying.
It's not. No, 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 no. Whoa,
breaking
whoa, whoa.
the
No, no.
law.
It's not saying that laws don't matter. It's saying that if you say every law, point blank, it has to be followed. Anyone that breaks the law is unjust. That's what's ridiculous. I'm not saying that laws don't matter. I'm saying that when you say
It's
every
not
law,
about whether it's unjust or just. That's what you're not understanding. That's what you keep going back to.
well, no, no.
We
That
both
is,
want to legalize drugs.
wait, that's the
Okay,
entire
that-
point.
yes, we
No, no,
have-
no. If a law is unjust, that is the entire point.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If someone breaks an unjust law, that's okay. If someone breaks a just law, that's different.
No, no.
Okay, I'll use the example again.
The
If
statistical
someone,
outcomes from people making decisions to break laws mean something.
no, no,
You're
no.
saying
If
they
someone,
should.
I'm saying that if someone breaks an unjust law, sometimes that can be heroic, like 1940s Germany. Someone that broke a law and hit a Jewish family in 1940s Germany, that is a hero. That is a heroic person. I know it was against the law, but they did the right thing.
That's subjective to you. Obviously, if somebody's selling cocaine to kids and kids are overdosing and dying, people are gonna think that's very heroic.
Okay, once again, no, that's what I'm saying. It's not always the case, but it's just a law.
No, but you're defending it. You're defending criminals right now. People who are breaking the law.
Okay,
Am I wrong?
do you
Am I
like the
wrong?
founding fathers? Do you like the founding fathers?
Maybe.
You mean those criminals?
Which
You mean
one?
those criminals? Those people who broke the law?
I don't know. I've never met them. I like what they try to create, though.
You mean what those criminals tried to create?
They try to create something great.
It doesn't matter. They were criminals.
You keep asking me if I like certain
You're
people
defending.
throughout this
You're
debate. I
defending.
keep telling you that's irrelevant.
You're defending criminals right now. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not.
When you defend the founding fathers, you're defending criminals. You know.
How am
yeah.
I defending the founding fathers? What
You-
crimes
oh,
am I
so
defending?
you disavow them, right? You disavow their actions.
If any bad actions, absolutely.
The Declaration of Independence was a very illegal under British law. This was a incredibly illegal.
That was in Britain. We're not in Britain, obviously.
But those were no. But it was a British colony, and so it was a illegal. But I'm sure you think that those were criminals when they broke the law doing that, right?
Maybe. I don't really consider that illegal since we're not in Britain.
But it was a British. Okay. I think you're missing the point.
Bunch of British people
missing
in a
point.
little group that's part of Britain.
I think you're missing the point though. When you say you're defending criminals, when I'm talking about people that are doing something that we both agree should be legal, does it really make sense to try and harm those
Doesn't
people by
matter.
calling?
Has nothing to do with the topic.
Yes, it does. Wait. No. You're saying you're defending criminals right now, even though we agree that what they're doing shouldn't be illegal.
Yeah, right now it should be.
Okay, but then why are you trying to make this like appeal to some sort of morality or some innate feeling within all of us? You're like, do you realize you're defending
nothing to do with
criminals right now?
morality.
All right, then wait.
has nothing-
Tell me why you said that then. Tell me why you said you're defending criminals. Can you please justify that statement? What were you trying to say
Because
with that?
you're trying to make it sound like these people are doing good things. You're trying to make it sound like they're saviors. You're comparing them to people who are trying to stop certain things in Nazi Germany. People, you even said heroes.
No.
in
I
your
said that.
defense.
I said that sometimes people who break unjust laws can be heroic. I think that those can be heroic things.
Yes, and like I said, selling drugs, is that heroic?
No. Okay, but when you say, I don't think that's heroic. But I also don't think that person should be locked away and put into prison labor.
No, and I agree with you. We have different opinions on abortion. Okay, right now it's legal. I don't think it should be. If they make abortion illegal, then are you going to find it justifiable if people start killing their babies? Like they shouldn't get in trouble at it.
I
At all?
don't think that that's what abortion is. I'm pro-choice.
It's subjective, right? It's subjective to your morality, whether you think it's okay or not. It doesn't mean that everybody has to follow by that. That's why it's irrelevant to this conversation. The conversation is about people being forced into certain situations where they are making the decisions themselves. They're not being forced to make these decisions. They're making them themselves.
But
That's what's putting them into these statistics that you disagree with.
but these things, you realize your decisions become limited. For example, if your grandfather was prohibited from buying a home, your father was put in jail for a crime that we both agree shouldn't be a crime, and now you have to go through life. You're in poverty. You don't have a home like some of your peers in this country. Then this is you don't have the same choices. You don't have the same opportunities.
Back then, absolutely. Today, what is forcing?
I just
people to
described a
do it?
person that could exist today. A person that could exist today is a person.
I'm telling you that the people are the way they are today because of the after effects from a system that was there.
So you have-
and that the people are the ones that need to change it themselves. The system cannot change that. The people need to change it themselves.
You have two kids.
You disagree with that.
You have two kids. You have one kid. Their grandfather was not allowed to buy a home. The other one, their grandfather, they bought two homes. So there's one starting with 0, one starting with 2 homes. Then their father, one of them was thrown in jail due to our brutal, vicious drug laws. One was thrown in jail, and so the other one, their kid was they were able to have a job, they were able to start a small business, they also had their two homes, and so they were doing well. They were able to use it as leverage to buy a third home. So now they got third homes. When their grandfather passes away, they'll have three homes in this family. This one, he has no dad, he has no family or anything. Do you think that those two people have the same opportunities in life?
Obviously not.
Obviously,
Doesn't matter.
obviously not.
There's a lot of white people who started at the same point as a lot of black people.
Yes, but we're talking about disproportion.
The white people have a better outcome than the black people.
So there are certain things that are going to be disproportionate. They're almost regardless. I think
forcing them to have a worse outcome.
Okay, so we just agreed that those two people have different opportunities, right? Do you believe in equal opportunity?
Not at the form of equity, no.
I just said, do you believe in equal opportunity?
Equal opportunity, yes. Equal rights, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And so we just agreed those two kids don't have equal opportunity.
But they have different starting points, yeah.
So they don't have equal opportunity. You literally just 20 seconds ago said that they don't have equal opportunity.
You are literally
whoa.
Did you black people?
Did you not say
at the same exact point? Fucking all over the United
States.
Wait,
did you not just say that those two kids do not have
a white person who's better off and a person who's not? There are many black people who are better off than a lot of white people.
Oh, but that's why statistics come into play, and disproportionately, there's a pretty big distance. But now we just agreed though that those two
what
kids
is forcing that lawfully?
No.
Forcing
we just agreed that those two people have different opportunities, right?
Those two specific people that you were talking about, yes.
Yes. Okay. And you can find these examples all over the country. You can find them way more than the examples that you're describing. And so those two people, what should be done to fix that?
There's nothing you can do.
Really, there's nothing you can do. You can't have, say, example, end the law that put that person's father in prison. You can't, for example, create a system where everyone has access to childcare, so that kid, even though they don't have a father that can afford childcare, that they're still able to go. You can get rid of the fact that
tell me how those systems are forcing those outcomes. That's what I'm saying. Is systemic. That is the racism that is caused by the system. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, we're trying to have like a conversation here. Like I said, if you want to
switch the race of the, let's just switch the race of the people in those scenarios. Let's say it's a white kid in those scenarios, and the black person starts at a higher point. The white kid would be in the exact same scenario, wouldn't he?
And that's why, like I've said many times this way, I support more universal solutions.
Yeah, but I'm saying the white kid would be. So would it be systemically racist to the white kid?
No, that wouldn't be systemically racist.
Why?
Because once again,
in the exact scenario you just displayed, except you switched the races.
Because the definition that we gave of systemic racism, or at least that I gave, and it's very similar to the definition you agreed on at the beginning of this debate until you realized that you couldn't justify it, is a system that perpetuates racist outcomes.
Yeah, but they don't have to actually create those outcomes.
The system.
That's what I'm saying. It's not forcing those outcomes. Now, if you switch the roles of the races, now you have a white kid that is in the exact same shoes as the person that is supposedly supposed to be pushed into these racist outcomes, but that's not racist to you. So it's only racist when it's one demographic. Like I said, redlining obviously was a racist or a very classist objective. Yet right now, only 28% of the areas you said are still affected are black people. It's more affected.
No. I said no. I didn't know. I said that the policies are of denying black people home ownership. You wanted to talk about the areas, about these like statistics of like the percentage of people that live in these areas. That's not what I was talking about at all, ever. I was talking about people being unable to.
You did say that those areas are still not well off at all, and they're still struggling.
If I'm not mistaken, many of those historically redline districts do still struggle.
Yes, and I'm saying that they're not majority black anymore. They're the third highest demographic now.
There's still double the percentage of black Americans.
So they are doing the right thing, and they are getting out of those areas like they should be into better areas. Right,
but that's never been my argument, though.
No,
my argument isn't some geographic thing. We're referring to these systems that you acknowledge exist in this country. You can't tell me when they ended. But you're saying
yes,
the systems that exist in this country. You're saying when did they end?
When the laws made them equal.
Then give me a date. Wait. If you want to say something doesn't exist, tell me when it ended. If you want to say something ended, tell me when it ended.
Yeah, no. Laws against drugs are not racist. They're not creating. They're not forcing certain races to be punished.
It's designed with explicit racist intent.
So black people could only break those laws. White people couldn't.
No, the goal was because that's why certain drugs are more
Yeah,
criminalized.
obviously,
What
objectives.
marijuana, for example, is a Schedule One drug, and I forget. There's tiers of these things, but I think we can both agree that marijuana is pretty far down the list of drugs in terms of the damage that they might do to your body. But yet it's Schedule One. Do you think that there had some, the difference between crack and meth, or there's different, and I'm not no drug expert, but there's different degrees that these drugs are criminalized with. And what a shocker! Drugs that were used in the predominantly black neighborhoods were criminalized worse. It didn't have anything to do with the health outcomes.
No, there's a lot of other variables at hand there. I mean, when you have a much higher percentage of drug problems in an area, you're going to be punished more. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what color you
No,
are.
but there's
If you have higher
there's
percentage
no,
of
no,
crimes in an area,
there's
it's
plenty
like,
of
I'm sick of this bullshit. You guys are being harder. You're going to have harder punishments. That's just how it is.
no.
Right
There's
now,
plenty of data that supports that black and white Americans use drugs at similar rates.
yeah, does that variables in that has to do with how many times they've had warrants, or how many times they've been arrested for certain things, how many times that stuff does not come into play in those stats.
No. We're just talking about. You said
You can't take two people just because of the color of their skin and say this one had a different outcome than this. No, this one has a much heavier past than this one.
wait. Then
This
you made a claim.
area,
No.
much higher crime rate than this area, so this area is going to be punished more than this area. There's a lot of variables. The lawyer that
Wait,
can be afforded in these areas.
You made a claim. You made a claim about like, oh well, these neighborhoods they were just using drugs all the time, and that's why they had black and white Americans use drugs at almost identical rates. So it's not a matter of one using.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
That they absolutely do.
Okay. White people, 71.2% are criminalized by drugs, right? And that's how many percentage of white people there are. Black, 26.1%. That's double the amount of. That's 2 times per capita.
Let's see.
They're literally committing those crimes twice as much as a white person is.
Let's see. I'm looking for these right now. Where are you drawing this stat from?
This comes from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. So I have all over, and then I have children or the juvenile.
All right. So you said drug use is when. Let's see. Drug use in racial and ethnic minorities. So what are your stats?
How much? What's that?
What are your stats?
Like I said, white people are 71.2% of the criminal of drug offenses.
No,
And
wait.
black are
No. Wait,
26.1.
that's not the argument at all. I know that black Americans are disproportionately criminalized and penalized for drugs. We're talking about use. We're not talking about who is criminalized more. We're talking about who use they.
How do you accurately judge that if they're not getting caught?
There are plenty. There's surveys. There's lots of things that we do. Let's see.
Surveys. Hey, how much drugs do you take in a day? That's accurate.
Rates. Let's see.
Hey, how much longer do you want to do this debate, by the way?
Let's see. We can call it good in a second if there's.
All right.
Let's see. Drug-related use per 100,000 residents of each race. Let's see. 10.5% for Black Americans, 9.5% for white Americans. It's nearly identical.
Not when it comes to actual percentage of. Oh, you're talking about usage.
Usage. We're talking about usage. I'm well aware that.
How do you even come up with that statistic?
Let's
Who
see.
the hell is going to tell somebody how much drugs they use?
Let's see. Would you not tell someone?
Hell no.
Let's see. Well, maybe some people are a little bit more.
Hey, how much illegal substance do you take? What's an illegal substance?
Let's see.
That's how I would be.
So this article is from Vox. This is the same. This is where the first stat came from.
Did you say box?
This is the first one that popped up. Let's see.
Oh,
So Black and white Americans use drugs at similar rates. One group is punished for it more. Let's see. This is from the national. The study comes from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. Shows Black Americans 10.5 per 100,000, 10.5%. Black Americans, white Americans 9.5%.
using.
Yes, using. This is drug use. Now,
I have a very difficult time accepting a usage statistic on illegal substances.
that's
That is-
the whole point, though.
I mean, do you understand why?
I mean, if you have, I can send this to you if you have some sort of problem with the methodology.
No, I'll definitely read it. I'm just saying a statistic on how much drugs, illegal substances somebody uses, and to try and say that is a massive amount of people to try and say that all these people are the same. No, I won't. I don't think that would be a very accurate statistic, but I will read it.
Okay, yeah, I'll serve it. I'll send it to you after. We've been going for about.
You want to try and finish this off? You want
Yeah.
to have
How do you want to end it?
You can do like a few minute thing, and I'll do a few minute thing, and we'll call it good.
No, I'm no good at stuff like that. So basically, my whole point in this argument is that Black Americans have been there's systemic racism is a system that perpetuates racist outcomes. We can see that it is no coincidence the fact that Black Americans have been centuries of discrimination in this country. We've seen slavery, we've seen Jim Crow, and now what a
I
shocker!
agree.
These same systems of racism we see in our prison system. We see that the race of people that was enslaved in this country, the system of slavery that we still have in this country, disproportionately targets Black Americans. We see these through lines all throughout. We can look at the wealth gap. We can look at the income gap. There are so many metrics that we can use to show wildly disproportionate outcomes. These can undoubtedly been linked to sometimes explicitly racist things, such as, we can look at things ranging from drug laws with the Mulford Act, which was explicitly designed to disarm the Black Panthers. We can look at the war on drugs. The Nixon advisors have come out and said that the intent was to harm Black Americans. There are all sorts of things that we can look at, and that is why I believe systemic racism exists.
Like I said before, I believe that the outcomes of systemic racism are still in effect today. The after effects of race. I don't believe that there's any systems in place that are preventing anybody from succeeding to get out of any hardship that they may have been born into, which every race has that situation. I have a hard time thinking that a prison system is designed for one race when you could easily thrive off of all races to come into your prison system. So I don't see any reason why they would target one specific race to try and conduct this slavery method. I don't think it. I don't think it's really.
You put slavery in quotations, and you push back on that before. There is
slavery.
slavery in our prison
I didn't mean
system.
to put that in quotation.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I don't think that it is really honestly fair to say that Black people are oppressed today when there are 1.5 million Black millionaires that make up, they have 13% of the population. When you have Latinos that are 34 or 35% of the population, and they have less millionaires than Black people. I think that there is a huge victim mentality, this mindset. I was just talking to somebody about this today, how a Black person who was saying that they were raised to believe that they were a victim, that they were raised to believe they're inferior, and they had to come out of that. And I've had multiple friends who think the same thing. And they said once you get out of that mindset, you just open your eyes to so much, and you become so willing to thrive. They said that mindset is what holds them back, and that is the only oppression today, is the self-inflicted mental oppression. And once people can get out of that, which I agree is a culture, once you get out of that culture believing that you are oppressed when you really aren't, then I think that they will thrive, and I think they will do fantastic. They have great style, great music, great food, fucking everything they have designed and created is amazing. And I think that if they can get out of this victim mindset, they will really thrive, and they'll really push forward, and they'll stop holding themselves back. So that's my take.
All right.